There is an active movement among Republicans, including the former lieutenant governor in Georgia, to oppose Trump's candidacy. And so he has a real tough road ahead of him, and Republicans are the minority party. Trump's hope is to do what he did in 2016. He lost the popular vote by more than 3 million, but he won the Electoral College because in America, the people don't elect, the states do. And if you win enough states, then you get to go to the White House. He lost the popular vote by 7 million in 2020. I expect he will lose in 2024 by at least 10 million votes.
Well, the porn star Stormy Daniels has been giving evidence at Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York and has told the court about a hush money payment of $130,000, which she says was paid to her before the 2016 election. She also described an alleged sexual encounter with Donald Trump at a golf tournament, which he denies happened. Tensions were high in the courtroom when Judge Merchan asked for the prosecution to cut out explicit questions. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records to conceal the payment. He spoke outside the courtroom a short time ago and said the entire case was a disaster.
So this was a very big day, a very revealing day. As you see, their case is totally falling apart. They have nothing on books and records, and even something that should bear very little relationship to the case. It's just a disaster for the DA, for the Soros-backed DA. It's a disaster. This whole case is just a disaster. If you read the legal scholars, you'll see, because they're writing about it, they've never seen anything quite like it. And neither have I. I should be out campaigning right now.
Well, David Cay Johnston is an investigative journalist and author of It's Even Worse Than You Think, What the Trump Administration is Doing to America and the Making of Donald Trump. And he joins us now. Hello, David.
Hello, Carol.
Good to have you with us. Well, it was quite a day in court, wasn't it? Just take us through some of what we heard. Admittedly, there were an awful lot of explicit details. Maybe we don't need to go quite into all of that. But it was really quite a day, wasn't it?
Yes, Stormy Daniels sat about a few feet from Donald Trump while she was in the witness box, and she will be there again tomorrow. The prosecutors clearly made a decision to get out a lot of extraneous facts that were not central to this case, which is about cover-up money to corrupt the presidential election in New York State 8 years ago. Presumably, the prosecutors did this because they wanted to limit damage on cross-examination of Ms. Daniels, rather than presenting a lean version of everything and then rehabilitating her on direct. She proved to be, Carol, a difficult witness. I'm sure, having testified in court myself, that the prosecutors told her to stick to answering the questions asked, but she went off the ranch almost right away. And interestingly, Trump's lawyers didn't quickly object, something the judge took note of, because later they asked to have a mistrial declared because of her testimony, and the judge noted that they were not in the forefront of stopping and cutting her off right away. In fact, at one point, it was the judge who intervened and told her, don't say anything more.
Yeah, I mean, that request by Trump's lawyers to have it declared a mistrial, that was rejected, wasn't it?
It was. It will undoubtedly be a matter of appeal if Trump is convicted. But I teach law. I'm not a lawyer, but I teach law. I don't see anything there sufficient to overturn a guilty verdict.
I mean, the key point here was that Stormy Daniels was outlining the series of sexual encounters she had with Donald Trump.
Well, just one encounter.
The one at the golf course.
Yes.
Which, of course, has been denied by Donald Trump. And she also explained, didn't she, why she took this payment of, it was a total of $130,000, but I think some lawyers took a cut of that.
Right. She got $96,000. Yes, and let's be clear, Stormy Daniels is not a hero. There are a lot of people saying, thank goodness she's up there testifying. Had Stormy Daniels simply gone public with her story right after the Billy Bush tape, in which Trump made crude remarks about grabbing women by their private parts and other disgusting comments, he probably would not have won the White House through the Electoral College. So both Karen McDougal, who also was paid off not by Trump but by his friend David Pecker — Trump refused to reimburse David Pecker, the publisher of a supermarket tabloid called the National Enquirer — both of them, are not people who ought to be honored as profiles encourage.
Donald Trump, we heard him there saying that the day had been a disaster for the lawyers prosecuting the case against him. But I mean, we did hear this account from the woman at the center of all of this saying, look, she had this encounter. She said she was scared of Donald Trump. And she said that she had taken the money because she was scared, not because she wanted the money.
Correct. That's exactly how she testified. And at the time this happened, she was 27 years old. This was in 2006. Donald just makes up his own reality, and this was not a good day for him. I think, and a number of prominent former prosecutors and defense lawyers who've been on American TV today believe that the prosecution has met the burden of its case. Now, there's going to be apparently about 10 more days of testimony by prosecution witnesses. That presumably is to batten down all the hatches and make sure that any argument made by Trump has, when the defense has its turn, has already been dealt with. But this trial is not going well for Trump. We've seen the documents, we've seen the emails, the exchanges, and all of the witnesses against Trump, except Stormy Daniels, are either insiders with him or people with whom he did business who have no reason to have any antagonism to him. This is true, by the way, in all four of his criminal cases. The witnesses are almost all Republicans and all allies of Mr. Trump.
So, I mean, just to be clear, Donald Trump, of course, denies all the 34 felony charges against him. But what you're describing is that there is actually quite a build-up of strong evidence that this hush money payment took place and that there were efforts to cover it up.
Right. Well, the documents are very clear about what happened. The principal issue will be one of criminal intent or mens rea. Trump's defense early on in pretrial motions sought to argue that rather than corrupt the 2016 election, this was an effort to make sure that Melania Trump didn't know what her husband had done. That defense has been vitiated by documents and testimony that Trump didn't care what Melania thought and that he wanted to try and delay the payment to Stormy Daniels till after the election, because if he lost, it wouldn't matter, and if he won, he wasn't going to pay her. All of that strongly indicates that there was criminal intent, and that's going to be critical to how the jury rules in this case. And Carol, this is a very well-educated jury. There are two lawyers. I believe everyone in voir dire indicated they'd gone to college. This is not the people Donald Trump says he loves, the, quote, poorly educated, end quote.
What is extraordinary, though, is the scenario that we're hearing about. Of course, there aren't cameras in court, of Donald Trump, the former president, the man who could be back in the White House by the end of the year, or perhaps into January if he wins that presidential election, despite all of this, eyeball to eyeball with Stormy Daniels as she goes through all these intimate and salacious details and all these potentially incriminating details about the payment.
Yes, and many of the reporters who are either in the room or the overflow room where there's a camera have all said that she spoke very quickly like this in a high-pitched voice, which are indications that she felt anxious in her testimony. The judge at one point, in fact, asked her to slow down so people could hear clearly on the jury what she was saying. But the whole trial is extraordinary on its face. And remember, this is the first time an American president has ever been charged with a crime. The worst offense in the history of the United States prior to this was Ulysses S. Grant getting a speeding ticket because his horse-drawn buggy was exceeding the speed limit, and he went and praised the police officer for issuing him a ticket.
And we should say that, of course, until now, the various criminal charges, the various legal cases against Donald Trump do not seem to have dented his support. But when these accounts emerge, and of course, if he is actually convicted, do you think that will start to perhaps have an effect on clearly not the core MAGA supporters, but some of those who are perhaps not quite decided yet?
Well, if you dive into the polling data, which is revealed in great detail by all polling companies, one of the things that becomes very clear is that a lot of Trump's support is rather soft, and if he is convicted, a lot of independents will slip away from him. There is an active movement among Republicans, including the former lieutenant governor in Georgia, to oppose Trump's candidacy. And so he has a real tough road ahead of him, and Republicans are the minority party. Trump's hope is to do what he did in 2016. He lost the popular vote by more than 3 million, but he won the Electoral College because in America, the people don't elect, the states do. And if you win enough states, then you get to go to the White House. He lost the popular vote by 7 million in 2020. I expect he will lose in 2024 by at least 10 million votes, but that doesn't mean he won't become president. It depends on which states he wins, and there are 13 that could go either way.
Just finally, we have had an update on a separate case. This is the allegations about classified documents and whether he should have taken them back to his home at Mar-a-Lago. We're hearing now that the judge is indefinitely postponing this classified documents case, which was due to start later this month. That presumably will be welcomed by Donald Trump and his team.
Oh, absolutely. Judge Eileen Cannon was a last-minute appointee to the federal bench by Donald Trump. In her very first motion in this case, she said he deserves special treatment, which is an absolute violation of American law. No one gets special treatment. The Supreme Court's been very clear about that. She has made a number of motions, all of which seem designed to favor Trump, and has accepted arguments that he's made which have no basis in law, but has taken them under advisement and not ruled on them. So at some point, we may see the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, try to remove the judge, but I don't think she's done anything yet that would ensure that she will absolutely be removed. And you know the old saying, if you're going to go after the king, you better kill him. They're not going to move against her unless they're absolutely certain she has made such an egregious error that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals will remove Judge Cannon.
David Cay Johnston, journalist and author, really good to speak to you tonight. Thank you very much indeed.
Take care, Carol.